collaborating with CrossFit Reykjavik to do some nutrition coaching for you guys if you need it. And I've already had the opportunity to work with several athletes. I've actually worked with Sophie back here, Burger. So it's just been my pleasure to get to know them and help people through nutrition. So I'd like to actually start by asking you a question. You don't actually have to answer, just a question in your head, okay? Why did you come tonight? Did you come because you know you need help with nutrition and you just don't know what to do? Or you know it's important and you have no idea where to start? Did you maybe come because you want to feel better in the gym and increase your performance or get stronger? Did you guys, anybody come because you know what to do, you know what you need to eat, but you just can't be consistent? You need some accountability? Maybe you're here because you want to lose some weight or feel better in your clothes or just have more energy. And is anyone here just because they want to be healthier and they want to be healthier as they age? All right, so think about those questions and hopefully I can help you see that this is exactly what we help people with. We're not just about losing weight or anything like that. It's really about having a good relationship with food and having a nutrition coach. So I'm going to do these slides from over here, so take just a minute to catch up with me. So what is functional eating? So we are a nutrition coaching company in the simplest terms. And one of the things that we really strive to teach people how to eat for the rest of their life. There's so much misinformation out there about what we should eat and how we should eat it. There's all the different fad diets and all the different things that it's really going to be hard to understand what you should do and what's right and what's good for your body. So we want to teach people that you can eat real food, not a bunch of supplements or packaged foods. You can eat real food and reach your goals. That's our biggest goal. But we also look at each client individually. So what I need to eat is different than what you need. What you need is different than you. I mean, everybody's different and our bodies respond differently. And so we don't just have one plan that we give to everybody or one idea of how to do nutrition. We really take you as an individual and customize your nutrition plan specifically to you. We also believe that your nutrition should fit into your everyday life. So if you're a parent, you shouldn't have to cook different foods for yourself or your family. You should be able to go out to dinner or to a social event and know that it's okay, it's not going to wreck your goals, and be able to have an idea of what to eat. So we really we have to just make sure that it fits in your life and that it's sustainable, that it's not something you do for a short amount of time and then quit. So that's the other thing. And then it's really about having a coach, someone who's learning what your body needs and how your body responds, and helping you design a plan and adjust your plan as it needs to be to reach your goals. So that's, in a nutshell, what we do. I'm going to get into how we do it in a minute. But first, it's going to come. I know it is. Hey, all right. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about functional eating and how it started, and also a little bit about myself so that you know why I do what I do. So I was always really active growing up. I played sports. As an adult, I taught yoga. I taught spin cycling classes, and I ran marathons. And I had no idea what to eat. I had a really unhealthy relationship with food. I was afraid to eat food in case it would make me fat. That's how I felt about it. I thought, well, I can't eat bad food. And I just didn't have a good relationship with food. And in 2012, I found CrossFit. That's when my CrossFit journey started. And around the same time, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that really affects my ability to lose weight and for my body to be healthy. And so I realized real quickly that I needed to figure out my nutrition. One, because I want to be good at CrossFit. I still want to, I'm working on it. I'm not quite there yet, but I want to be good at CrossFit. And I wanted to feel better. And so I really started looking into nutrition. I got a coach myself, and then I got a bunch of nutrition certifications. And the biggest thing I learned, as simple as it sounds, is that food is fuel, right? And food wasn't my enemy, and I had looked at it wrong my whole life. And once I realized this, I honestly wanted to tell everybody. I wanted everybody to know that you can eat real food, and that it doesn't have to be an issue, and that you can feel better. And so when I started coaching CrossFit, I saw that there was a need, that there were a lot of people like me. They didn't know what to eat, or how to eat, or when to eat. And so I wanted to help them, and I started working with clients. And then in 2019, I started coaching at Cobra Command CrossFit, which is in the US, in Kansas. And that was a turning point for me. I had a lot of really big changes in my life, and that were not good. And Jill, who's the owner of Cobra Command CrossFit, is with me. She's back there in the corner. She was like, well, let's make this the best thing that ever happened to you. And so I started coaching nutrition at Cobra Command CrossFit, and we had a lot of really good success and a lot of really cool stories with our clients there. And so we decided to start functional eating and take it to as many people as we can. But the biggest thing is that I love helping people. I love seeing people change. I love seeing their success. I cried, full-on cried, when Meredith won her last event at the Games, because I was so happy to see her success. And my goal in life is to help people, and I get to do that. And I'm fortunate enough to be here in Iceland to hopefully help some of you. So that's a little bit more about me and how we started functional eating. And now we actually have a team of coaches. It's not just me. We have 4 other coaches currently, and they're all over, and we're able to work with a lot more clients and help that dream of being able to take good nutrition coaching to the world. So now that we know about that, let's dive into some nutrition. Let's talk about nutrition. That's probably a lot why you're here, right? So the biggest thing, like I said earlier, there's so much misinformation, right? Like, you can get online and Google what should I eat, and you'll get 1,000 different answers, right? So the biggest thing that we see is that 90% of our clients are under eating. And that surprises people. They're either under eating for the amount of work that they're doing, like training. If you're in here training for 4 hours, you need a lot of food. If you're training 6 days a week for an hour, you probably need more than you think you do. So they're either under eating for the amount of work that they're doing, or a lot of times I see people just aren't eating enough in general. So there's something that we call basal metabolic rate. And if you don't know what that is, basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories that your body needs to survive if you're lying in bed in a coma, all right? Just to keep you alive. And we found that most people aren't even eating that much. They're eating less than that. So your metabolism has to slow down to keep you alive. And then you can't lose weight. You're not gonna get stronger. It messes with your hormones. Under eating actually really contributes to depression and anxiety and issues with sleep. And it really wreaks havoc on your overall health. So when people learn how much they need to eat and when and how often, it improves everything. Their health gets better, they sleep better, it can reduce depression and anxiety, they start feeling better in and out of the gym, and just overall improve their health. So obviously, eating enough is the first thing that we focus on. So where do you start, right? We know it's important. Where do we start? Well, the first thing, we work in macros, and we talk about macros. Macros is short for macronutrient, and those are protein, fat, and carbs. And these may be things you already know, but we're gonna talk about them for just a minute. Protein. Protein, every cell in your body uses protein for its most basic function. And most people that I work with are not eating enough protein, all right? I've had some crazy ones that eat way too much, but there aren't many. And when you're not eating enough protein, you can't build muscle, your body doesn't function as well as it can because your cells don't have the protein that they need. So protein, super important. In fact, one of the tips I like to give people is if you're traveling or you're on vacation or you're eating out, focus on protein first. Eat your protein first, and then work on everything else. Then eat your side dishes and your carbs and your fats, and it really helps. So protein is really important. I'm gonna skip carbs for a minute because there's a lot to talk about carbs, right? It's a hot topic. We're gonna go to fat. So fats are important because they also help build muscle, but they also help with muscle repair. So when you train really hard and you go home, fat is what helps your muscle repair. But it also helps you absorb vitamins and minerals that are in your foods, and it actually helps produce some of the hormones in our body. So if you're not getting enough fat, your body doesn't produce the things they need or absorb the vitamins and minerals. And then the other thing it does is it slows down the digestion of carbohydrates. So if you need energy for a long time, having fat with carbohydrates keeps that in your system a little bit longer, and it can help you feel more full and satiated when you're eating. But then there's carbs, right? So a lot of times we hear carbs are bad, right? There's all sorts of diets that say carbs are bad. We were in the airport the other day and I bought these protein chips, and this guy in front of me is like, you shouldn't eat those have a lot of carbs. And I looked at them and they were 8 grams of carbs, which isn't hardly anything at all, but that's the mindset. A lot of people think that carbs are bad. But carbs are our body's primary source of energy. That's what we need to feel good in the gym, to live our regular lives, to just do our daily activities. We need carbohydrates. And it also is our brain's preferred energy source. So if you want to have a clear mind and think well, you have to eat carbs. I've had people that aren't eating enough carbs that feel a fog. They say they can't think clearly. It's because they're not getting the energy their brain needs. All right? But I also hear, okay, well, if carbs are good, are there good carbs and bad carbs? And that's a tricky question. So we're going to talk about that. Carbs, your body, strictly for energy, talking about breaks every carb down to glucose in our body that's distributed for energy. So if it's gummy bears or sweet potatoes, hold on, hang with me here, okay? Your body uses those for energy the same. All right, now, sweet potatoes have more vitamins and minerals and fiber. They keep you feeling better, and they're a whole food, and they're not processed like gummy bears, right? So they're definitely different, but when it comes to energy, they're the same. Does that make sense? Okay, and that's really confusing for people, right? We teach people to eat whole foods. We want you to eat good foods that aren't as much processed, but sometimes it's okay. The biggest thing that we see when we're doing this is that people are out of balance. Most of the time they're way under eating protein and overeating fat and carbs, or they're trying to cut out something completely. They're cutting out carbs or they're cutting out fat, and they're just not getting the nutrients and the energy they need for their body to run properly. So that's why we work in macros. That's why we tell you how much protein and how much carbs and how much fat your body needs, so that we make sure it's in the right balance and in the right ratio. And a starting point, I tell people, if you just want somewhere to start because you don't know, it says 30, 40, 30, that's a 30, we can see it through that line. You should be about 30% protein, 30% fat, and 40% carbs. Now that's not for everybody, but it's a good place to start, right? So you could take MyFitnessPal, you can plug in those percentages, and it's a good place to start. But the other thing we do, I just mentioned MyFitnessPal, is we track our food. And one of the reasons we track our food is because most people underestimate or overestimate, and you don't really know what you're eating. You're like, that's probably 3 ounces of chicken, but it might not be, or it might be more, it might be less. And so when you track your food, we can have an idea of what you're eating, know that you're in the right balance and in the right ratio. And so that's why we track, and that's why we use macros. We make sure that you're getting enough. Okay. Next slide here. But I want to talk, I said, carbs I was going to talk about last because there's a lot. So, like I said, people think that carbs are bad, and I hear that all the time, but carbs are our energy source. But one of the things that we do at functional eating is called carb cycling. Has anyone ever heard of carb cycling? Yeah? Well, I know you have. So, there's a lot of reasons we do carb cycling. So basically, carb cycling is where you have higher carb days and lower carb days throughout the week. And I'm going to specify, when I say low carb, it's not super low. We're not talking like crazy no carb low. It's just lower than your higher days, right? And the reason that this works, there's a couple things. So your body gets used to the energy that it has with the higher carbs. And then when we throw in a couple of low days, and those low days have a little higher fat, your body's like, well, wait a minute, where's my food? And it will burn the fat that you have stored for energy. So for someone who's wanting to see body composition changes or weight loss, carb cycling is fantastic. But it's not just for weight loss. So it also improves what we call metabolic flexibility. So metabolic flexibility is our body's ability to switch back and forth between burning carbs for fuel during workouts and activity, and then burning fat at rest. And when you can switch back and forth between the two, it means it's a sign of health. That means you're more efficient. Your body's going to use the fuel that you give it more efficiently. And you'll have more energy, and you'll feel better, and you'll still see those changes. But it's also really good for athletes. And part of the reason that it's really good for athletes is what I've talked about with the metabolic flexibility, but it also helps keep your body fat percentage down while you're really trying to push performance, maximize your performance and your strength. So if you're wanting to put on muscle, but you know that if you gain, 5 pounds can make a big difference, and if you want to keep you like how you are, you like how you look, and everything else is good, you just want to get stronger, it really helps your body to do that as well. Does that make sense? Okay. Next thing. So, macros and carb cycling are not unique to functional eating. The way we do it might be, but it's not unique. But there are a couple things that we do that are very, very different. And the biggest thing is that we take a whole lifestyle approach. So I can have the most perfect macros in the world, but there are other things that affect how my body responds. And when those things we have to take those factors into consideration when we're coaching you, when we're giving you a plan. And those things can affect how our body works, how it responds to food, and whether or not we reach our goals. All right, so what are some of those factors? Let's talk about them. And the first thing, when we start working with somebody, one of the things that we do is we do a video call. 45 minutes to an hour, and we talk about all of these factors that I'm going to address in a minute, and get to know you so that we know what we need to do to come up with a plan for you. So the first one is sleep, right? Sleep is vital. We all know sleep's important, right? If you're not getting enough sleep, your energy's going to be down, you're not going to feel, it's really hard to gain muscle and strength if you're not sleeping. Anxiety, depression, all those things can go up. But if you aren't getting enough sleep, as a coach, I need to make sure, first of all, that I'm trying to help you with sleep habits, that I'm giving you suggestions, that I'm helping you put into habits and practices that help you get better sleep. But I also may need to change my plan for you completely and make adjustments. If you can't sleep for whatever reason, or you can only get this in 3 or 4 hours, carb cycling may not be the best option for you. It might be something else. And so we really have to take that into consideration. Stress is the next one. Our bodies have a stress threshold. They can only tolerate so much stress, right? Until they go into what we call fight or flight. And working out, training like we do, is stress on the body. But it's good stress. We need stress for our bodies to change. Carb cycling, the variation of that is stress on the body. Good stress, but still stress. So if you already have a really high stress job, or school, or family causes a lot of stress, then that's something we have to take into consideration. And one, I always try to make sure that I look at those and I give you, again, suggestions and help you manage that stress and reduce that stress. But I have to adjust your plan for that as well sometimes. And so that's one of the things we really look at. And then social life is the other one. So Ren and I actually were talking about this yesterday, how you need to do things that are fun, that you enjoy, right? That you want to do and be with friends and family. And I have had people that have not gone out with their friends or not gone to parties or events or because they're worried about what to eat. They're scared, they don't know. And so we teach you how to navigate those obstacles and how you can go to these things, and sometimes it's okay not to worry about it at all and just make smart choices, and sometimes I'll help you with the decisions you make in those situations so that you can not ruin your goals and you can still see progress. But it's important. It's important to our mental health to be social and to be around people and to be able to do things that we love. And if you're not, then that's also going to create more stress and more anxiety and depression and that sleep issues. So it's all it's interconnected. There are a few other things that we also look at, and those are coming up. But they include things, it's not on the slide, I'm sorry. So they include things like water, right? So you have to be hydrated. You guys need to make sure you're drinking enough water. A lot of people aren't. So if you're not drinking enough water, it affects how your body digests your food. So we look at water. One of the other things is sodium. Sodium, if it's really high, that means you're probably eating a lot of processed foods, and we need to look at that. Caffeine. Now, caffeine, I like some caffeine. I like my coffee in the mornings, and I'm not ever going to tell you not to have it, but it can impact it can impact your eating because it's an appetite suppressant. So people will not eat because they're drinking coffee, and then they're way under eating, but they're like, but I'm not hungry. Because they're drinking a lot of caffeine and their body, they're not hungry. Does that make sense? So caffeine we look at. And then hormones. Men and women, we all have hormones in our body, and we need to make sure that those are working well and your body is doing what it's supposed to. And as we age, I know some of you are really young, but the rest of you, as we age, our hormones change. And as our hormones change, our dietary needs change. And we have to look at that and factor that in. So those are some of the other things that we do. So the biggest difference, honestly, in functional eating is that it's not just about food. I give you a meal plan. I have meal plans for everybody. I want you to use it as a guide to give you ideas and things that, I don't know how to get my carbs in. I know I'll have ideas. But I don't just give you a meal plan and say, okay, eat this and you'll be fine. Because it's not just about the food. It's really about coaching. And when you think about it, our coaching approach is what really makes it different. And one of the things that I like to compare it to is you guys have a coach in the gym, right? You have a lot of them. You have really good coaches. And what are they doing? They're giving you programming. They're getting to know you, knowing how your body moves and what you need to reach your goals, right? So this is the same approach that we take when it comes to coaching nutrition. We want to get to know you. We want to learn what your goals are and help you with those. And one of the ways that we do that is we have daily contact with our clients. So I have an app, and it connects with my FitnessPal where I can see your food. And I'm going to show you a picture of that in a minute. But I'm looking at people's food. I'm giving them suggestions and feedback, but I'm also asking questions. I'm asking about your sleep. I'm asking about stress. Making sure that those things are good because I'm trying to get to know you. And then the biggest thing is we customize. So I'm going to customize and change your plan as we go, whether it's because your goals changed or because maybe you're not quite seeing the results that you want to see. We've got to figure out how your body works, and we'll change it. Just like your coach here will give you modifications if you have an injury, or if you're not as strong as you think you should be, or you're a beginner, right? Your coach is giving you modifications, and as you improve, they're changing those modifications. It's the same with nutrition. We are coming up with what you need specifically and then changing it as you improve and as you reach your goals and as your goals change. So that's the difference in what we do. We also have twice a month we'll do video calls where we talk about things that are going well and things that you might be struggling with, or if we need to change things. And really, again, that coach getting to know you. But you also, it gives you a resource to ask questions. How many times have you had a question about nutrition and you just don't know who to ask? Or I've had clients send me menus from restaurants and say, what do I eat? Or at the end of the day, they're like, well, I've got 40 grams of protein, 30 grams of fat, and no carbs. What do I eat? That's a tough one. I can get you close. You may not be perfect, but it's having a resource, and that's invaluable. Someone you can ask questions to and feel comfortable with. So that's really the biggest thing. And then we also, for those of you that compete, right? I do nutrition plans, competition nutrition plans, right? So I did yours for, I don't remember what it was. Yeah, so I gave them a nutrition plan. I did it for both Barbaros and Telma. She was in a competition this weekend, and for the games, and I told her what she needed to eat for breakfast, what she needed to eat before each event, what she needed to eat after each event, what she was eating before bed, what she was eating for dinner, and I had a plan written out so you knew exactly what to eat to maximize your performance when it came to competitions. And then also, a lot of you might wonder about what to eat before and after you work out, right? The tip that I like to give people, and this is easy to remember, and it's simple, something you can change right now, it's 30-30-30. So you want 30 grams of carbohydrates 30 minutes before you train, and then 30 grams of carbohydrates immediately after. 30-30-30. That gives you the energy that you need to perform, to do your workout, and then having those carbs, and not just protein, because that's what most people do is grab their protein shake, right? Having carbs immediately after helps your body replenish the glycogen stores in your muscles. And if you don't get those carbs in, then your body spends the rest of the day trying to replenish your glycogen stores, and it doesn't use the fuel that you're giving it efficiently. Okay? So that's a quick thing I always tell people, 30-30-30. And then this is, I thought I'd show a picture of the abs, a little harder to see, but this is what it looks like. This first one here kind of shows some of the things that we do. We look at, if you have like an Apple Watch or something that connects, that's fine. If you don't, it doesn't matter. But it has your plan in there, your macros. We take pictures sometimes, we weigh depending on what your goals are. And then this is actually an example of Iceland food, right? So people are like, well, is it gonna work in this country? So this shows you kind of how it looks and how I see my fitness pal. This just pulls over. So this is what I see. And sometimes I don't know what those things are, I'm not gonna lie, and I have to ask. And I'm learning now that I'm here, I'm learning those things, right? Like, it's fun to see like what that actually is. So, but it works with food anywhere. And someone asked earlier about being vegetarian or vegan, or maybe you can't eat a certain food or you don't. It doesn't matter because I can give you suggestions on other ways to get your protein, other ways to hit your macros. You can eat all the foods that you enjoy and all the foods that are normal and still see success. So, real quick, and part of this is what I want to talk about, that we've been helping clients for over 2 years, but it's not just about, and I really want to emphasize this, it's not just about weight. It's not about a scale. In fact, there are so many other ways to monitor progress that we look at. We look at pictures, we look at performance, how you're doing in the gym. If you feel better, right? Do you feel more confident in your clothes or in your life? Are you sleeping better? Are you happier? All of these things are really important, and they're ways that we monitor progress. And I was actually talking to someone before. one of the things I didn't tell you is that I really struggle with a number on a scale, personally. And so I don't want anybody to feel that way. So I make sure that you don't have an issue, and we work on that mental side, and work on you loving yourself and being the healthiest version of you, and seeing the results that you want to see, and not putting so much emphasis on the number. Because I don't want anybody to worry about that, to have that ruin their day. Does that make sense? So sometimes people don't weigh at all, and I can still help them see success, and I can still help them see progress. So I just like to tell people how important that is, because I think sometimes we live in a world where that sometimes becomes an important number. But I want to tell you a few things. I'm going to just tell you a few success stories, and then I'm going to take questions. And I really, if you have questions, I really want you to ask. If not, I'll be here after so you can ask questions in person. But please feel free. I really do want some questions. I love answering questions. So this first client of mine, Ryan, he had diabetes. He was extremely overweight, unhealthy, and had a health scare, and realized he had to get his nutrition under control. And he was keto, which, if you know what keto is, it's like no carbs. And he had lost some weight doing keto, and then was gaining it back. And I had to completely redo his mental thought on food. And we were able to see, fantastic results. And he was able to get off his medication, diabetes, his heart and blood pressure were great. CrossFit corporate actually did a video, like commercial video story on him, and it was just pretty amazing how much he changed. But we had to completely change the way he thought about food. Sam, all he wanted to do when he had functional eating, when he started functional eating, he's like, I just want to keep up with my teenage kids. That's it. I just need enough energy to keep up with my teenage kids. And then he's like, wow, I've never looked like this in my entire life. And his whole family is now paying attention to what they're eating, and they've been able to change their whole family, because now their whole family's paying attention and eating good foods in the right amount. And they all join CrossFit, and he can keep up with his daughter. I've seen him, he pushes her, and she's pretty good. So, that's Sam. Caden is one of my favorites. He went to the 2021 CrossFit Games and was 46 kilos in the 14-15 division. And he did fairly well for being that light, but he was not strong enough, and he needed to gain some weight. And he doesn't actually carb cycle, because he needs a lot of food, and he has to eat a lot of food. And sometimes it's hard, and we have to get creative. But in a year, because I started working with him last September, in fact, he was actually here in Iceland when I had my first onboard call with him. And he's actually the one, he talked to Edgar, and Edgar started following me, and then Edgar reached out to me. So, Caden's fun. But now he's put on a lot of weight, he's hitting PRs, and he's excited. He's hoping this next season he gets to go to the games so he can keep up with the big boys. His words. And hopefully by next year we'll be even a little higher with his weight. This is one of my favorites, because this picture and this picture are the exact same weight. She's gone on to actually lose, I don't remember, 8 kilos or so, but in these two pictures, her weight is exactly the same. Her body changed. She learned to eat. She's 55. She just wanted to get off the diet roller coaster, because she had been doing these crash diets her whole life, and it'd lose a bunch of weight and then gain it all back and lose a bunch of weight. And she's like, I just want to know how to eat. And she eats more than she ever thought she could. And like I said, she's doing fantastic. She started exercising. She only did 15 minutes. And now she does over an hour. 4 days a week. But that's quite a difference in those pictures of these. That's why it's not just about that number on the scale. And then Aaliyah, my last one, Aaliyah, she started with functional eating as she had a dream to be a competitive athlete. And to really, she's like, I want to go to the games. I want to do everything I can, and I know I need help with my nutrition. And I've been working with her for over a year now, and this year she got to go to semifinals. And she did great, and we're making a push. We're going to see how well she can do this year. But she learned how to eat. She said one of the biggest things is she didn't know how to eat during competition, so she wouldn't eat during competition. She'd drink some Fit Aids, maybe some Gatorade. She'd choke down some gummy bears. And she wouldn't do well in a competition because she didn't know how to eat. And now, she eats alive. If you follow her on Instagram, she will show pictures of all of the food that she has set up for what she's eating before and after her competitions. It's really kind of fun. So, that is the last one. But we have so many and different people that we work with, but that is really the last one that I had to show you. So I want to answer some questions. If you guys are comfortable asking questions. Anybody? Okay.
Can I just add one thing? Because
Yes,
David, our son,
Yes.
he's 18 and he plays soccer. And he started with Meredith this summer. And he needed to gain weight. And he gained, I don't know, 3 or 4 kilos.
Yeah, we're at 4 right now.
And what he said, that is, it's also a huge education about what food does for him. So now he knows much more than he did before. And also what he said about soccer games and training. He has never had any problems performing during the soccer games because he actually knows what to eat before the soccer game. So I haven't been coached by you, but I know David gives you a 10. So
And he's fantastic to work with, and it's hard to gain weight, I'm not gonna lie. People need to gain weight, it's very, very daunting. But that makes me happy because I really do want to teach people how to eat for the rest of their life. I always say, this may not be the best business model, but if you need me forever, I'm not doing my job. You shouldn't need me to coach you forever.
So in general, how long does this need you?
So everybody's different.
Yeah,
I have
sure.
some people that are with me a couple of months and they get it and they're like, you know, I got this. I know what to do. I've learned a lot, and they go on and they're really successful. And I've had others that have been with me for, well, 2.5 years, but they're usually competitive athletes. But I would say the average, honestly, the average is probably 5 months, 5, 7 months. But like I said, everybody's different. It depends on what your goals are. If you just want to learn and to be healthier, you usually get there a whole lot quicker than someone who either has a lot of weight to lose or is trying to gain a lot of weight or has performance goals. So, you had a question?
Yes. On carb cycling.
Yes.
What exactly is the benefit to weight loss? Why would it be beneficial to weight loss?
Absolutely.
Is there a benefit because of reduced eating or?
So what it does is it actually helps your body to burn the fat that you have stored for energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have carbs that are higher that help with sleep and workouts and stress, then you take those away and give it a little more fat, keep the protein the same. Your calories are a little bit lower. That's something I didn't mention, I will mention in a second. But your calories are a little lower on that day, not a lot, not restrictive, but it really does help your body burn the fat that you have stored. And the other thing is that it's constantly varied. Like it keeps your body in a constant state of change so that you see better results. It's like CrossFit, right? We're constantly varied in CrossFit so our body doesn't plateau, so that we don't see those stalls. One of the things I want to mention, I'll do it now, is that people ask if they should count calories or macros. And the reason that I say macros is because I can fill all my calories with carbs, or with fat, or with protein. But that doesn't mean that I'll be balanced. Does that make sense? So since I brought up calories right there, I don't really focus on them, that's why I forgot. But that's why we focus on the macros. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I was just wondering if, the calories were equated, if there would be a weight loss, but yeah, since it drops down,
Yeah.
makes sense.
And we actually look at, when we look at carb cycling, we actually look at a whole week. So it's not just about the day to day, like, I'm not just looking where you have this many calories this day and this many calories this day, I'm actually looking at the week. I'm looking at how much training you do in a week, and I factor it in. I mean, with David, it was really hard because he works out a lot, he runs a lot, he does soccer, and he's always going, and so I had to figure in all of his activity to figure out where his food needed to be and how we had to adjust it, and I do that with everybody.
You're constantly adding the calories. It was just like.
Yes, because he keeps getting busier and keeps running more, but we have to, it's like we have to adjust. And it's hard. He has a lot of food he has to eat, and sometimes he's like, Meredith, I don't know how to do it, and then I give him a few suggestions.
Yeah, and of course it increased in time because he wouldn't be able to eat the whole thing he's eating now in the first month. It would have been impossible for him to do it.
And that is actually a really good point. So when people are under eating, if I started you at the calories you were probably supposed to eat, one, you just probably gain weight to begin with, and two, you might not be able to do it, and then you're not successful, and you feel like a failure, and I don't want that. So we start slowly, and we have to adjust slowly to introduce that food to your body so you're eating enough. Does that make sense? Just like I do with David. Does that make sense? What other questions? Huh?
I said in a way. Makes sense in a way.
Oh, in a way. Yes.
Do you like set out for people to meal prep for the week? Or, for example, I like cafeteria work.
Uh-huh.
So we'd be able to like weigh the food
So,
precisely.
meal prepping is great. And people who want to meal prep, it's fantastic. My idea of meal prep is for Jeff, who's with us too, Jeff will make extra dinner, and that's what I ate for lunch the next day, and I planned that out. But when it comes to people who have things like that, cafeteria, I have people who work night shifts. I have, military, police, nurses, doctors. It's hard. Like, it's really hard to know what to eat in those situations, and your body's off, and you have to eat at the cafeteria. So what I do is I help you figure out what is the best and about. You're not gonna weigh it, but we can estimate how much you need, and then make sure the rest of your day is really good, so that we get as close as we can. When I give macros, I always give a range, so I'm not gonna tell you, okay, you have to hit this dead on. I give you a little bit of a range because it allows for things like that where you just have to guess. Because that's life. You can't be perfect all the time. And that's the other thing. You don't want to. Again, I was talking to someone before, and she's like, sometimes I just feel like a failure because I do so well and then I don't. Or I can't be perfect at this meal, or I don't know what to eat. And that's defeating. And so I help you learn that it's okay if you're off a little bit. Sometimes we get back on, and one meal that you don't know what to do with, or one meal that's maybe a splurge. I don't like the word cheat, but that's what people use all the time. That doesn't ruin your progress at all. And I'm hoping I'm answering your question, but we really do. That's why it's individual. So you would work with your coach and tell them what your options are. Tell them what you can eat at lunch. I end up doing it with kids that are in school all the time, and what they have available for them. In the States, they eat a lot of times at school in the cafeterias, and we have to help them learn what to eat there. So it's just working to help your coach will help you figure out the best way to do that. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
There are some people though that actually do meal prep for the whole week.
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah, and they just take all Sunday doing it,
Mhm.
and they have the whole week prepared.
And that is
It is
fantastic.
done. It is fantastic, but not many of us can do it.
The other thing that I like to tell people is if you can pre-plan your day, okay, Jeff is way better at this than I am, but if you can pre-plan your day, so if I know what I'm having for dinner, then I go in and put that in first, and I'm like, okay, well this is what I have left for the day, so now I'm gonna plan my lunch. And my breakfast is always the same, so I put my breakfast in, and then I know what I have left, so I know where to fill that in with snacks or my pre and post workout. But then during that day, I know what I have to eat. So if I get busy in the morning and forget my snack, then I can eat that later because I know I need to eat that. Or I use this example, if I want pizza because I don't live in a world where I'm never gonna eat pizza again, okay? I may not, I can't eat it every day, I can't eat it all the time, but I love pizza. And so if I know that every other Friday night, we're gonna have pizza with the kids, I'll go in and I'll put that in first, and then build my day around it. Does that make sense? So that's how it allows for those things, and those are the kinds of things that I wanna teach you. What else? Yes?
Yeah, about the cafeteria thing.
Yes.
Some of us have like cafeterias.
Mhm.
Can you just also look at the plate and see like, okay, 70% like meat,
Mm-hmm.
and then 30 fat, like they've got
Yeah.
sauce and oils and stuff, and then just 40% of like
Yeah.
rice or like
Yes,
vegetables and
exactly, that's a
stuff. That's
fantastic
just
way to
like
do it.
something you can work with.
I actually had somebody that was going overseas and was doing competition, and she's like, I don't know what to do, and that's what I told her to do. Split your plate in half, put your protein on this side,
I could do that.
carbs over here, and then fat is usually easier than you think. When you eat out, there's a lot of fat in everything, right? Butter, cream. So fat usually is, you're gonna get that, but making sure you're focusing on the protein and stuff, that's a great way to do it, is by imagining your plate. Yeah, it's perfect. What else?
Sugar.
Huh?
Sugar. Sugar.
Okay.
What do you know about sugar? I think it's sugar.
What is sugar?
Sugar.
Oh, sugar! Sorry. So, that's a good question too, right? Well, it depends on the kind of sugar, I'm not gonna lie.
She has forgotten about that.
Yeah, sugar, what's sugar?
Sugar.
So, fruit has sugar, right? It's a natural sugar, right? And that's good for you. Fruit is good for you. It's got a lot of different vitamins and minerals for you. So sugar it comes down to the carbohydrates. If you are getting most of your carbohydrates from sugar sources, your body might not perform the best because it needs the vitamins and minerals and fiber and other things that come from carbohydrates that are not sugar. But there's a place for it. If you work out, you need quick carbohydrates before and after, something that your body's going to digest really quickly. And the quickest thing is sugar. Now, fruit would be better than processed sugar, but sometimes that's what you go to. Does that make sense? I really want you to have good whole foods that aren't processed, but I know some really competitive, really elite athletes that have gummy bears right after their events. Just because it gets in their system. I like applesauce or dried mangoes. That's what I prefer, but sometimes that's a real quick way to get it. I wouldn't do it all the time. I mean, I don't recommend it, and that's one of the things, if I'm looking at it's not up there, your food log, and all I see is sugar, 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 then we're gonna talk about food quality. And we're gonna help you make better choices and get it to where you're not, because that can cause a lot of issues with insulin and diabetes. So, does that answer your question? It's like there's sometimes it's okay, and at a certain amount is okay, but there are other ways to get carbs that are good for you too. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't eat fruit sugar.
Yeah. Well, then you're probably good. Just maybe carbs. You might get more carbs. What else? Oh, somebody.
Då tycker jag varandra.
Sugar.
So you have a general recommendation of
Please.
timing
Yes. and
number of meals per day.
So, most people do better eating a little bit all day, like six-ish meals, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a couple of snacks in between. And the snacks for me personally end up being my pre-workout and my post-workout. Okay? However, we were talking about this at dinner last night. Intermittent fasting is something that a lot of people have heard of and a lot of people do, and they ask me about it all the time. And it has a place. It can be very useful. But the issue sometimes with intermittent fasting is that you don't get enough food in that amount of time. So ideally, I have people eat breakfast, usually within an hour of waking up, depending on what their work schedule is like. Some of us get up and 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, we're out the door, right? So we have to kind of figure that out. But lunch and dinner also depend a lot on when you work out. If you work out in the evening, lunch should be your biggest need because it's going to give you the energy that you need for your workout at 4 or 5 o'clock. And then when you get home, affect your sleep. Eating a lot of protein and fat before bed causes your core body temperature to raise. And you need your core body temperature to lower to fall asleep. So carbohydrates don't do that, but fat and protein will. And so you don't want to eat a big meal before bed. So if you're working out at 4 or 5 o'clock and you don't do 6, 7, maybe it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, you don't get home, you don't want to eat a big meal. So then sometimes lunch is your biggest meal. But if you work out in the morning, breakfast might need to be your biggest meal. Or if you eat dinner at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night and you don't go to bed till 9, dinner might be your biggest meal. So to answer your question, my general recommendation is really that it's individual, but I usually recommend a little bit all day because it keeps your blood sugars level, it keeps your energy up, and you don't allow yourself to get too hungry. Because what happens when you get really hungry? You just want to eat, right? Who's been there? Like where you're like hangry, right? And you're just like, I'm just gonna eat whatever, and these cookies right here are what I'm gonna eat, right? So if you can keep yourself from getting that hungry and keep your blood sugar stable, then it usually is better. But it doesn't work for everybody if you have a job where you can only eat at lunch. So the answer is really, I don't have an exact answer, but does that help? Does that?
Yeah, of course.
I kind of threw out a lot of different situations.
I just wanted to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I, most of the time, want people to eat some snacks in between their meals, but I have a couple of clients that honestly, they're like, I don't want a snack. I'm just gonna eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and my pre-workout, and I'm good. I'm like, okay. If that works for you and it's working, then we try to plan their meals accordingly. So, and that's where the customization, the individualization is. So, I don't know, hopefully that's some like good guidelines for you to think of. We would maybe talk about some others we can. What else? Anything? All right. I love the questions. I really appreciate you guys asking them. Like I said, I'm gonna be here for a little bit after if you want to hang around and ask me some questions. And then also, we are doing in-person consults. So if you have not signed up for one, I'm gonna be here all day Friday, Saturday, and Monday, and I've got some slots open. You can use this QR code, this one. And I think it's also been posted like on your.
Það í Modify í dag og gær og líka á klöppinu, sé fyrir klöpp, ef ykkur veit ekki hvað það er þá mjög gott að vera inn á þeirri Facebook síðu, en eins og inn í Modify-inu þá það þar og á fleiri, já.
Okay. And what we'll do in these in-person consults is, if you like, you don't have to, but I have a body scan, right? I've brought this scale that will tell us your muscle mass, your body fat. It tells us your basal metabolic rate, which is nice to know. It tells you if you're hydrated, your water, your body water. If you're not comfortable with that, we absolutely don't have to do it. You just stand on it with bare feet, with your clothes on and everything. So, but if you're not comfortable seeing that number, that's okay. But if you do, we'll do that. And then I'm gonna talk to you about what your goals are and what that means and how I think that, just answer some questions and how I think that we can help you personally and individually. So if you wanna do that, there's that QR code, like she said, you can go to the places that it's also done. But if you can't, maybe you can't make it, or you, it's not a good day, or you're out of town, we do Zoom consults. So either myself or one of our coaches will get on a call with you and do the same thing that we're gonna do in person, okay, just without the scan, obviously. So if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and do that. I'd like to leave you with just a couple thoughts. So, am I on the right page? Yeah. What if you had someone to help you? What if you had someone to keep you accountable? What if you had someone to help you overcome obstacles? How much more successful could you be? What would it mean if you had someone watching your progress and your goals and being invested in you and helping you reach those, and it was just as important to them as it is to you to help you reach those goals? How much more would that mean if you could, if nutrition was just something you didn't struggle with, something you just did, and it took out all the questions and uncertainty around nutrition? What does that mean to you? What is it worth to you? I said, while we're here, we're doing these free consults, but we have come up with a special pricing structure for members of CrossFit Reykjavik to make it affordable so that you can have coaching. We have discounts for family members, so that if you or your spouse or your child or significant other wanted to both do coaching, that you'd be able to. And we will, when we talk to you in our one-on-one consults, we'll go over that with you and let you know. And again, if you can't make it, please let me know. We can talk about that. But I really just want to thank you for letting us come, and it really is just our passion to help people and share the knowledge and to teach you and help you reach your goals. So if we can do that, we would absolutely love to. So thank you so much for coming, and like I said, I will be here if you need or want to ask questions, and then I'll be here the rest of the week. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank
This QR code right here will link you directly to the phone call or the video call. So if you can't make it, there's that. So. Yes, we are in, I live on the Missouri side, but our gym is in North Basin.
Kände mer jag träffade i 50 jag fick fastna på en träning men då man kan man inte gå runt utan och det är inte vi är det är allt som vi ger
We can talk about
Yes.